This is Mr. Jared, and in this video tutorial, we're going to be filling this pipe flange reducer in SolidWorks. So as you can see, there are a lot of views going on here. The origin is located at the bottom of this. And over on the left here, I kind of wrote some of those views. So we have a detailed view, that would be a zoomed in view here. We have a broken out section, which you could also kind of this a broken out section because it's broken a little bit. We have a full section. You can see here, both this one and this one are cut in half. Here's a cutting plane line there. There is an aligned section here, or a aligned line section, which is this D. See how that cutting plane line comes down on an angle? That would be this one. And there's also some auxiliary views, which one over here, pulled off on an angle so you can see the true size of those circles. So there's a lot in this drawing. We are also going to use the revolve tool, the shell tool, create some planes in creative ways with using construction lines. There's a lot that goes into this one. I'm going to pull this to the other screen, and we're going to start out by creating a new part. And this part is in millimeters, so I'm going to change to millimeters. I'm going to sketch on the front plane. And what I'm going to be doing here is just drawing the main portion of this body revolving. So it's going to be basically this half without these connecting pipes. Okay. You also see the thickness that kind of comes up through here. We are going to be shelling that later on. I'm going to start out by using my line tool, going straight up, over, down, over an angle, and then back to my origin. Now there is like a rectangle part here. We're going to do that at the very, very end of this entire thing. So I'll just go and start to dimension this. It's going to be 35 tall. This top part, the width of it going to be 7.5. From here to that is going to be 9.5. And you can see mine kind of messed up and went up. So I'm just going to dimension tool and readjust here, and also zoom in. Better. Okay. And then this drops down 4. Now I'm kind of at a spot here where I'm not able to some easy dimensions. So let's look at where I got some of these. Okay, so I said 7.5 and 9 point top. Since we are revolving, I'm taking this and dividing this by 2. Okay, that's how I got those numbers. The 30 tall is pretty easy and obvious here. And you can see the bottom has this extra ring that I was talking about. And it says it is 4 tall. Well, I'm actually only drawing this line down on an angle, right? So what I'll do here is put a construction line that's going across. And it has at 40 of where the angled line kind of goes to. So I'm going to draw a construction line and then kind of cut that half. So it's not going to be 40, it's going to be 20, because I'm only drawing half of this. So a horizontal construction line, and from the inside to that dot, I'm going to say is 20. So that's good so far. Okay, now let's see what is still going on. Well, this can still be in or out, right? So this spot that I was just talking about is also, a little spot right here, if I follow that over, is also 4 up. That should fully define this thing. So let's go from our construction line down to the bottom. We're going to make that 4. Okay, that's fully defined. We're going to go over to the Features tab, and I'm going to revolve boss base this right off this center line here. Okay. Hit the green check, and now I have a solid shape. Now we are going to be sketching on the front plane. So I'm going to hit the sketch tool, drop down, front. And what I'm going to try to do here is actually sketch a construction line that's going to help me get out to this surface to create my plane. Okay? Well, to do so, I'm going to use a bunch of construction lines. First, I'll get my construction line, go straight up from my origin. From the bottom all the way up to the top is a straight line. Okay? Get another construction line. I'm going to come out on an angle here. And I'm going to go up on an angle. The key thing here is that this is perpendicular. So it looked like some of my stuff got turned off. Yes. So we want to make sure that that is perpendicular. Okay. Now what we're trying to do here is get this line to the exact middle of where that actually is on this pipe. So in order to do that, we need the right angle and everything like that. By having this a 90-degree angle, we can then set this line. We click it, hold in Shift, and click the side of our cone-shaped object here. You might have to do it in reverse. Select this one first, then that line. We can make them parallel, and now this is coming out kind of at the right angle, as you can kind of see. It can't adjust or change. The distance out can still change, so that's what we're going to change. So that's key, that this is perpendicular, these two construction lines, but these two lines are parallel. So now I'm going to get my dimension tool, and I'm going to go from this construction line up to dot, and I want to be out on an angle like this, and I'm going to make that 20. And I'll circle to the original picture to show you where I'm getting these measurements. But now I'm going to select this line and go to that top dot, and I want to again be on an aligned dimension, and I'm going to make this 11. Okay, so where are we getting these measurements from? Well, let's look here. So we're trying to draw this right here. You see how this is moved over and it's showing you this auxiliary picture, and it's showing you this part? Well, fair to the top dot is 20. That's where I got that 20. Okay, and then I also have an 11. So where am I getting that 11 from? Well, that 11 is actually over here. It's kind of weird, but we're going from here down here, and that's the 11. That's showing the distance out that this thing acts. Okay, so this construction line is now fully defined. So I'm going to hit return from my sketch, and what I'm going to do now is go over to the Feature tab, Reference Geometry, and we're going to be making a plane on the end of this line, right here on this dot. So our first reference is going to be that second reference is going to be that dot itself. And you notice what it does is it connects that plane perfect to that dot. Okay, so I'll hit the green check. Now we're going to sketch on that plane. I'm going to use the circle tool. I'm going to click on the origin here. I'm going to draw a big circle. Dimension this to 18. Again, I'm going to circle back and show you where I'm getting that. Okay. So if we're looking at this picture, we're trying to find the measurement of the outside here, which is right here. It's that 18. You'll notice mine is not fully defined, even though it looked like I clicked on the origin. You might have to rotate your screen just slightly, zoom in, and you can see that maybe it disconnects. So you might have to select the center point, hold it, and select the origin itself, and make them concentric, or coincident, sorry. We have our circle, and it's floating out there. So what we're going to do is go to the Features tab, Extrude. It's in the wrong way. We're probably going to have to hit reverse. And right now, we could just extrude this till it smashes it because it is solid down here. That would work. But just to get into a good habit, we're going to change this from to up to next, or up to next, and it will go into it until it's that outside surface and stop. Okay, green check. If you want to turn these sketches off or this plane off, you're welcome to. You don't really need to, but you off just by right-clicking and hitting the eyeball if that bothers you. But now that it's solid like this, we're going to go ahead and shell it out. And I'm choosing to shell it out now. You could do a couple other steps first, but shell it out now because you notice the wall thickness of this, which it says is 2, and 2 right here, if I follow that over and up, and this is 2, okay? All of that only affects the pipe on the right. It only affects this part. It doesn't affect the extra little pieces that are connected to it, like these little wings. And it also does not necessarily affect. Okay, so that's why I'm doing those to later. I'm going to pull this over to my other screen. I'm going to get my shell tool. And this is kind of unique to do, but I'm going to set this to 2. Most of the time you click on one surface with the shell tool. But we're going to click on that surface, this surface, and underneath, so that it tells the computer to go all the way through the entire thing. If you only clicked on the top, it would go down and stop 2 millimeters up from the bottom. But by clicking 2, it's going to cut through that side as well. Green check. So you can see it's through now. Perfect. So the next thing that we're going to do here is try a plane that's coming off of this to help us make that other connector. Look at this. This other connector is not easy. It's not just on the opposite side as this one. So you can 45 degrees from like straight across from this other one. We're going to have to make a plane first, then sketch on it with a construction line, then make another line off of that construction line itself. I'm going to pull this back over. To make a plane at 40 degrees, what we'll do is get the reference geometry and plane, and we're going to use the already existing planes, so the front plane and the right plane. And what it does is, it puts a plane through it. Now it puts a plane through it this way. We want it this way. So we're going to have to hit flip that right here, so that it goes the opposite way. And we'll hit the green check. Now we can sketch on that plane. We're going to be sketching over here. And this is going to be that construction line that's going to help us make the other one. So just like what we did before, get your line tool, line. And you can actually see the previous construction line is still there. If it's not, like you turn that sketch off, you will draw another one. But we can actually use this construction line. So I'll click on that. I'll come out on and up again. And as you can see, this is perpendicular. Same thing as before. We'll make this and the outside parallel. That should be good. And now this is just going to be able to slide like this, back and forth. We're going to look for the same type of measurements as we did before. And once we find those, we can... So we're now looking at this one. So you can see it goes from here up to that top. Once again, is... And then the measurement from there over, which is this detailed view, is actually 10. So we've got 20 and 10. Before, I think we had something a little bit different. So we're going to go from this here up to that top dot, out on an angle, and that's going to be 20. From that line to that top dot, up on an angle, and that's going to be 10. So we define. Now the top of this is still blue, but that really doesn't matter, okay, because it's a construction. So we'll hit return from sketch, and get features tab, geometry and plane. Same thing as before. Your first reference is going to be this line. Second reference is that point. And we'll put a plane right there on the outside. Now, this is the one plane that I really don't like because for some odd reason, SOLIDWORKS rotates this. I'm sure there is a way of it to be perfectly straight, what you want. I have not found that. So that is rather, but we're going to be sketching slightly on an angle here, and I'll show you how we can fix that as we go. So check. I'm going to sketch on that plane, plane 3, and as you can see, it kind of rotates green. But for right now, we're just drawing a circle. So I'm just going to get my circle tool. Again, click the origin and draw out. And this one's going to be 20. Now, where did I get that from? Well, let's look back at the picture itself. And we're looking for one over here. So can't necessarily see on here, but what we're actually looking for is the diameter on this side. Kind of odd that they would put it over there, but that is on that side, so that is 20. Same thing, go to Features tab and hit Extrude. Screen is facing away like mine. You might have to hit the flip button. We'll change from blind up to next, and it will go until it hits this. And because this isn't a solid object, we definitely want that setting. The green check. So now we have our two little connector pieces. The next thing we're going to do is add the little wings to this original connector that we drew. So let's sketch on that surface, or you could sketch on plane 1, it's the same thing. So I'm going to sketch on this surface. And the connector pieces, or like the little wings that connect off of it, they're symmetrical from the top to the bottom, one side to the opposite side. They also have two holes that go through this. Now, these two holes happen to be right on the edge of where the original circle went through. So we're going to have to do two different sketches itself. You could do them in the same and select both, but sometimes that does mess up with the selected contours. So I'm just going to do the outside first. Okay, maybe mirror this over to the other side, root it back, then draw my circles and cut that through. So we're sketching on, I'll get my line tool, make a construction line. and I'm going to go from the center over, and I'm going to go out past the object. Okay. Now, I know it's going to connect to this as well, so I do need to trace that a little bit. So I'm going to get my center point arc. I'll click into the circle, come over here, click on the actual arc itself. It doesn't hurt. And I'm just going to trace down to my construction line. I just drew this little line right here. Okay. Now that being said, I'll get my center point line, just where on this construction line, kind of come over. And you can do to the end of your construction line if that helps. And just kind of go up here and stop somewhere. Why am I doing? Well, let's look close here. There's this arc right here, and then it curves back up in. The first line that I drew was actually tracing the circle so we knew where we wanted it to connect to. So I need another arc, and that's just going to be a 3-point arc. And we're going to go from there up to this line here, or this dot, and we're going to bend this way. Okay. This connection point is going to be tangent there. And this line, and this might get messed up, but this line is also going to be tangent. So I'm going to this curve, hold in shift, select this curve, the tracing of the circle. We're going to make that tangent. It blends in perfect. Now we can set up our measurements. So the outside here actually says on the right side, I'm going to pull this over because it's a little confusing. Over on the right side here, there's two measurements very close to one another, but one is a radius, one is a diameter. So the diameter is obviously the circle. Okay, the radius is the curved outside. So the outside is 3.25, and the little we made tangent is going to have a radius of 4. So this first one that we're measuring is 3.25. This one is going to be 4. Right? Now, it's still not fully defined. Well, keep in mind there are going to be circles here later on. So the picture, it says from the center of the circle over to the opposite one way over here is a 20. So that means if we just go from that dot to the construction line in the middle, we just want to make this half, so 10. It will reshape itself, and now it is fully defined. Go ahead and mirror. And I'm going to select this line, that line, and this one. And the mirror is going to be the horizontal construction line. Green check. Try to do this again, so mirror. Select all of them. The mirror about line. Let's see if it'll do this construction line here in the middle. It is not, so we might actually have to draw a construction line. I thought it would have let us do that. So get your construction line tool, just draw straight up, and it can just connect into. Try that process again. Like the mirror about line is going to be the vertical one, so it goes over here. Green check. All right, now we can extrude, and once again, you might have to switch your direction and change it from blind to up to next. And green check. Now, if you see lines right here, that's because when you extruded, you did not have this merged results. So make sure that's also for you. Now we can sketch right back on that surface. Again, one or that surface. And we're going to draw in our two circles. Get your circle tool. You just mouse over the outside arc and pause. The center point will pop up. Okay. Do the same thing on the outside. I'm going to hold in shift and select both of these. Put them to equal. Then when I dimension it, remember we said 0.5. Features tab and extrude cut. And we're not going to do through all because that would go all the way through the opposite side. You could obviously guess a measurement, but that's not what we want to do. What we actually want to do is change this from blind to up to surface, something different. And if you rotate around so you see the underneath, you can select that inside surface. And it's going to cut, and it's that surface. You can check. You can see it stopped. Now we have those two holes. So now let's focus on the opposite side. Your sketch tool, we're going to make a sketch on this surface. Again, it could be plane 3 or that surface. And if we look at that side from this aerial view here has 4 different holes in it. It's got no little extra wing pieces, just 4 little holes. And those holes up and down and straight across from one another. Well, this is going to be a little tricky to do because we're on a slight angle. So we can't just do vertical constraint, and you'll see why. It's going to be on an angle. Just looking at the other picture, the holes do go all the way through. Okay, they're perfectly straight through, and it gives us some of the measurements over here. So I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to get my circle tool, and I want to go to the center of this circle. And this is going to be a construction circle. That's going to be where my actual circle is connected. Okay, so if you look at this, you can see it's on an angle. So you should be able just to select that circle, and when you go to draw, you should be able to put them right on these yellow dots. That's if this plane would have put us straight up and down, but the plane did not, which is rather. So what we'll do here is just draw one circle, okay, attached to it, and we're going to circle on these. I'm going to get my dimension tool, and I'm going to dimension this construction circle. Okay, and I'm looking at my picture. I'm trying to find from the center of that circle to the center of the opposite circle. So where might that be? Well, if you look over here at this picture, we see any measurements that goes from there to there. So the only other time that we found that it dimensioned something over here. And it's got one line that goes from the center out, and it says a radius 8. So I'm guessing that this is talking about, or that was talking about, construction circle. So the radius is from there out. So that means since we're drawing a diameter, we actually want C. Okay, so that put us out 16. Now this circle itself, 2.5, you can look at that picture over on the left side and you'll be able to see that. It says 2.5. And then we need to figure out how to get this thing up and down. So that 2.5 is right here. How do we get this straight up and down? Well, what we'll do here is use one of the construction lines that we already created. See, if you tried to select this and select that center point and circle, it's going to send it over there because we're on a rotated or tilted view with this plane. It's not what we want to do. So what I'm talking about here is we want to select the center point of that circle, hold in shift, and we want to rotate our view so that we can see one of these previous construction lines that we made. So that one right there. We're going to hit coincident, and it's going to rotate it along that construction circle until it's straight up and down. Okay, as you can see. Now we're going to circular pattern this. So hit the drop down from linear pattern, hit circular pattern. And I like to just skip this because circles, it puts it right into the center anyways. Sometimes when you click that point, it makes it underdefined later. So I go down to the entities to pattern. I'm going to select the circle right away. And we want 4 equally spaced. And of course, me saying this and doing this demo, I was put the center point here. Most of the time it goes right to the middle. So let's go up to this one and let's delete that point. And let's select the center point of that. We'll hit the green check. Mine are still underdefined, and that's just because this did not lock on. So you can either move this away and back, you can just move one of these out and back, and it should lock on. Alright, so the middle one worked. So if you see this random 4 floating, that is actually your amount or entities, the number of entities that you patterned here. So we should be fully defined. Okay. We also need to draw a circle that's in the middle of the entire thing. So get your circle right off of the middle. We'll draw another one. And if we're looking for the measurement of this, let me pull this picture back over for you. Let's look over here on this other side, and we can see the inside there. It says it is 12. So we'll make this 12. Okay. Now we're all good. Features tab and extrude cut. Once again, we'll change it from to up to surface. Rotate underneath, click the inside surface. And it should automatically select those 5 circles. You can hit the green check. Now it is cut through. So we have all the hard parts done. Now we're going to on the bottom here. We're going to make that extra piece, that bottom piece, where it's on. Get your sketch tool, the bottom of this. Get our circle tool. We're going to draw a big circle out like this. If we just did the overall size here and extrude it up, be extruding through this bottom part too. So we actually need to make 2 circles. So you're going to draw from there to this inside ring. Okay, not the outside, the inside ring. So we'll dimension this one. And looking back at my picture, from the aerial view up top view, it shows that it is 55. So we'll set the outside to 5. And for some reason, my inside one is not fully defined, so let's just go back. Alright, I guess it did on there. So I'll just select that circle, hold in Shift and select that inside ring. I'm going to make those co-radial. Okay, co-radial means it'll line it right up. It has the same radius. So now it's just that part of it. Okay, so we'll go to the Features tab here. We want to extrude this up, so change your direction. And look at the picture once again. We'll have to find where the thickness of that is. And that's back here on the original picture we started with. And that is going to be 4. Thickness of 4. Okay, so that should go up. And think about originally what we talked about when we first sketched, we made a construction line across where this thickness piece actually hit or stopped. And that's exactly right. And that is our part. So let's clean this up a little bit. Just going to right click on some of these planes and turn these off by clicking on the eye. You can also turn some of these sketches off. So my construction line one. So that we have our part. Looks good. Now what we need to do is just change edit material. It says it is 2018 alloy, so just search for that. Apply and close. Evaluate mass properties. And we should get 32.25 grams. 30.25 grams. Your X, Y, and Z, we're checking that. Correct. And it looks like we're good. So if you didn't get that, try to go back and problem solve where you went wrong. If you did get it, good job, and move on to the next one.